Well, obviously, again, you're seeing a lot of success, and even before we officially met today, I've heard your names in and out of circles, and so I'm very excited to get to connect with you. Now, tell us about Belmont Yoga specifically. Someone's listening in. This is your opportunity to share, why you're different as an organization, or to invite people in to be a part of this community. Well, welcome back to Building Belmont. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, and today many of you, because this business has just been on fire through the community, recognize where we're at. But for those of you that haven't had the chance to experience it yet, we are downtown Belmont in Belmont Yoga with Michelle and Corey, and we're going to get to hear their story today about how they came to Belmont, their business, and also the community that they're creating here in Belmont and beyond, Mount Holly, the area, Charlotte, overall. Actually, they were just voted Best of Gaston for, is it yoga or is there a specific
yoga
classification? Yoga, Pilates, so all of them. So congratulations on that. And I'm really excited to get to hear your story. We were already talking, we've already ran late because of your interest and connection in the community and being so much more than yoga. But let's start with how you came to Belmont. How did you find your way to Belmont? You mentioned you were in Charlotte before, but what about Belmont?
Well, yes, I lived in Charlotte for a solid 6 years, and I didn't know much about Belmont until I met Corey. And
thanks, Corey.
I will say I lived in Plaza Midwood. I was very much into Charlotte, and when we were looking to buy a house together, we looked in South End and we also looked in Belmont, and here we are. The house that we first found, we both fell in love with, and once moving here, I realized how special Belmont is, and now I almost never go to Charlotte. Sure. We don't leave very much.
So Belmont versus South End, what stood out about Belmont? Because some people might be hearing that and saying, wow, how in the world? But we know why. What stood out initially about Belmont?
When we met, I was living in Belmont for about 6 years. I was a big fan of Belmont. I've been here, 10 years ago, or the last 10 years there was nothing here. Only a few little stores, a few little restaurants.
Since you've been here for 10 years, Belmont has grown rapidly just in the last couple of years. So what was that like early?
Early on, my place was Sammy's. You had that. You had the bike shop was a bike shop. And not too much more. And then when Michelle and I met, I kind of showed around Belmont. I was a Belmont fan, and she was a Plaza fan, and it wasn't until we found the house we're in now that kind of got her here. Yeah, it was.
I would say, I didn't know much about Belmont, so I only knew Charlotte, and I enjoyed Charlotte. I wouldn't say that like South End was the place I really wanted to move to. I just knew that was where we would probably be able to maybe find a house if we looked. But I very much enjoyed Plaza Midwood. I worked uptown, and so naturally I wanted to be in Charlotte. But moving here and it was like the small town I never knew I needed. It was very quaint, and everyone was very friendly. And really it did come down to the house that we're in. We're in an old 100-year-old mill house on Catawba Street, and it's a sanctuary for us now. We absolutely love it. Corey has a full workshop in the back, and we've just made it such a home for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you were from New York. So were you from city New York or country New York?
No, very country. There was a farm right down the street from where I grew up, but it was small town, but not in the way like a main street like this. Mm-hmm. And I lived in various parts of New York for some time before I moved here, and it's just expensive. I am not a winter person. Everyone is complaining about 98 degrees, and they're like, I'll take it, because I know a lot colder. And I really fell in love with North Carolina as a whole.
Mm-hmm. We seem to have a lot of people from New York. I go to the gym with several people from the New York area, and then the Bearded Buffalo, the owner's actually from Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah.
So are you all connected with them?
You know Chad.
I know Chad a little bit, yeah.
Okay, I just figured, being from New York, you all kind of just gravitate towards each other. But being here, and Corey, where were you from originally?
I'm from Florida, Orlando. Moved up probably 16 years ago to Charlotte. I have some family here, and yeah.
So you've been in Belmont now for 11 years, you mentioned.
And then about 5 or 6 years before that, I was in Charlotte.
Okay. So you both from Charlotte to Belmont. And when did Belmont first come on your radar?
Back then, I was playing a lot of tennis, and the park up the street here was where I was playing tennis, and then just seeing the community and seeing the potential it had. Yeah, I thought it would be a great place to look into, and I found a little house and not flipped it, but kind of remodeled the house, and was there 5-6 years, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad there was something about it that for both of you, you said, okay, I want to be there. Obviously, the home, you love the home, but there was something about the community. Now, fast forward 4.5 years since you both lived here together. What are some of the things now that you say, okay, like you mentioned, I hardly ever leave Belmont, and really, you don't really have to.
Yeah.
What about the community now makes it so special for you, especially building a business here?
Well, pretty much all of our friends are here now, so that's one reason we don't really need to leave. And just seeing the growth in such a positive way that is still honoring the history of Belmont. That was the one piece of Charlotte that I found unsettling, was that they were basically taking away the identity of some of the small neighborhoods like Plaza Midwood and Noda in favor of a lot of really large apartment complexes and just things that didn't quite fit the vibe anymore. Here, yes, we have a lot of growth coming, but it seems very strategic. It seems like they're taking their time to make buildings aesthetically look like they fit in, including ours. Ours was the first new construction. Here comes the train.
Who's going to do this? For people. For people that don't hang out in downtown Belmont or live in Belmont, they see that as a nuisance. And when I first moved here too, actually it reminded me of my small town I come from back in northern New Mexico. But I still didn't enjoy it, because when you're sitting, especially at the coffee shop, what will happen is what we just did. We're like, all right, let's just stop and stare at each other awkwardly for a couple seconds as it passes. But we're going to leave that in, because the train is actually a big part of, like,
it's part of the charm. I hear it a solid 10 times a day. And I'm not bothered by it. It's almost white noise sometimes because I hear it so often. But I do enjoy seeing people get really excited about the train. Like, there is a charm in Belmont that it runs literally right through downtown, and it just makes it kind of special. But
you were really onto something there culturally about, there's some mindsets in Belmont that are more like ours, that, we're not from here. There was something about it that attracted us to it. But what's different is that when you'll have somebody move into a new place, they'll almost take their old place and try to make their new place like the old place. Yeah. Whereas in Belmont, no, there is an attraction to it that says, no, we want to honor it. For example, I was with a buddy, we were doing the Friday Night Live, and a buddy, he has his brother who lives in Rock Hill, I believe. We were talking about the middle school, and we were talking about what's going to happen there and how they're honoring it, they're going to preserve it. And his brother from Rock Hill said they should just level it and develop something there. And my friend said, no, that's not how we do things here. And that friend's only been here for a year. So there was, and that would probably be our common response. You even shook your head like, no way. There's something about that. And so there are some mindsets in Belmont that say, oh, all these new people, they're going to change Belmont. But if they really sat down and had a conversation with people and heard their story, you would hear, no, we like the fact that we honor the past. And so I really wanted to emphasize that, because I don't think enough people are having those conversations to hear that.
Sure.
I think growth can sometimes be intimidating for people that have lived here for a long time, and they see a lot of people moving here, but everything changes, and that's the beauty of it, is that we evolve with it. And because the city has done such a great job of preserving the history of Belmont, I see it going in great places. I think it's going to be it is a wonderful town, and I think it's only going to get better because people move here and they want to be part of it. They don't want to necessarily change. They come here because they love what we have. So, and what I was going to say earlier with this building is, we had our ribbon cutting ceremony maybe a month after we opened, and Phil made a point to mention that it's the first new construction of a commercial property in 50 years in Belmont. And I think that's a testament to the fact that they are being very strategic about how they build. And I've had people say, oh, is this the old train station? I'm like, nope, this building is a year and a half or 2 years old. And they're like, wow, but it's cool. It's cool that it matches the depot, it matches what Belmont is.
Yeah, there's that train element, the cultural element. As Garibaldi Station, which was what Belmont used to be, was just a train station. So continuing to honor that, and with you all obviously inhabiting a building like this, I didn't know that this was the first in 50 years, but it's been put to really great use with you and Heirloom, and pretty soon, it's not Honeycomb, what's the bakery?
Oh, Bumblebee.
Bumblebee Bakery. People that do want to preserve that history.
Sure.
So when you look at that now and you see being a part of it as a culture, obviously being younger people saying, okay, honoring the past, I want to continue to emphasize that because there's a way that we do that here in Belmont that's very, very unique and special. So what are some of the things that you've experienced just even through the community that you're building here? How you mentioned before we got started, yoga is just kind of something you do together, but you're actually more building a community. So what have you experienced in the people of Belmont and how friendly they are, the culture that's being created here through the community you're building?
I mean, I adore the people of Belmont. It's everyone just wants to talk, they want to get along, and we have a lot of different people here, and it seems to me that nothing really divides us here. We can come from different backgrounds, we can have different beliefs, and everyone is still all in this community and respecting each other. And I find that with yoga, we have people that come to practice for either physical, mental, spiritual, etc. reasons, and no one is bashing the other one like, oh, you need to have a spiritual practice, or oh, I can't believe you're only doing it for this. Like, no, everyone comes here on their own accord and they're welcomed, and that's been a nice thing that everyone gets to experience yoga no matter where they are in their lives. And we've seen just people click when they come in. We've had people make friends here. We've made friends with our students. We don't have that separation. And it's the community here. We had our 1 year anniversary party in February, and I mean, through tears, I was thanking everyone for being there. And I mean, we had quite a few people that showed up that they just love it. There's something special about it. It's not, you can go to a yoga studio, you can take a class, but when you come here, it just feels different. You feel like family. And I always said I want to model this yoga studio off of Cheers, that you walk in, everyone knows your name, everyone's glad you're here. And it's true. I have a thing for names anyway, but I'll see people that maybe, only took a couple classes here one time, and I'll still recognize them. And there's such a special feeling when you return to a place and they know you, and you feel so welcomed, like you're part of it.
So someone listening to this, maybe they just moved to Belmont, they want to start building connection, community with great people, Belmont Yoga.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned with your values, community, mission, being inclusive. Let's go then into the business that you created around connection. So what was your background and what was your entrepreneurial journey into starting Belmont Yoga? I love this part of the everyone's story.
I went to college for business and HR, and I worked in HR for a few years in New York. Before I moved here, I worked for 9 years in a law firm uptown. And at the law firm, we had a wellness program, so I started managing that, and we would bring in yoga instructors to teach us in the corporate setting. In conference rooms, we would have yoga. And I fell in love with the practice to the point where one of my instructors at the time said, have you ever considered taking yoga teacher training? And I hadn't, but then I looked into it, and I ended up taking my training in Charlotte, and then I started teaching the classes at my law firm, and then teaching outside of the law firm, and now this. And I will say I use a fair amount of my HR skills in running. I'm glad that I have the business background, because you don't necessarily have to be the most advanced yogi to run a studio. And that's something that I've, for a while I think I had the imposter syndrome, like, well, I haven't, I'm not a master yogi, whatever that is. But I know business, I know people, and I know how to find connection, I know how to build something, and that was where I feel I use my skills the most.
Yeah. Well, you don't get voted best of Gaston on accident, especially being here now, a year and a half. So where did you see that your background in HR and business actually was laying the foundation for now being an entrepreneur and leading your own businesses?
I think just being able to manage people and understand how to talk to people was something I pulled in big time. The marketing piece, obviously, that's a full-time job with any business, but I've kind of dived headfirst into it. And just being aware of, the boring parts of a job, the financials, filing sales tax reports, the things that no one's going to teach you. You have to learn how to do those things. So there was a fair learning curve when we opened this, because I didn't have any brick and mortar experience, and I had to do some research. I had to teach myself, and I also picked the brains of some of my fellow business owners around town and be like, hey, how do you do this? Or,
What was one of the greatest lessons, or one of the lessons that you wished you knew coming in? You said there were some hurdles getting into brick and mortar, but now I'm sure you have a list of them. Like, if I just knew that, what comes to mind?
Things that I knew beforehand or didn't know?
Things that you wished you knew, right? You said there were some hurdles coming into brick and mortar.
Like what to do when we have a brownout that turns out half of our electric and then fries the light panels to the point where we have to replace 6 light panels and things like that. I think it's a lot of the background stuff. It's the taxes and all of that stuff. It's hard to learn that stuff without doing your own research. No one is going to be like, this is exactly how you do it, unless you hire someone to tell you this is exactly how you do it. I'm more of a self-learner, so I've tried to.
What's the point, or are you already at the point where you start outsourcing all the things you don't enjoy about business?
Not there yet.
Yeah. But my first experience in sales was in financial services after I got out of the military. And, of course, in the beginning, as in any business, you're the CEO, which Dave Ramsey says, like the chief everything officer. And so, we were kind of taught, well, if you don't like to do it, make more money and hire someone else to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, great. That's the goal. I don't like to do the bookkeeping. I don't like to do the accounting. So I'll hire someone else to do it. So I'm just curious about that.
Weirdly, I am a numbers person, so I don't mind the financial part of it. I have loosened my grip a little bit from when we first started. I am not one to delegate a whole lot, but after a year and a half, and especially a few team members who have been with me from day one, I trust completely to the point where now I can offer them a task. I can, especially if I have, let's say, like a private session, I trust them to run the storefront. I know that if I go on a small vacation, we're not to the big vacations yet, but if I go on a small vacation, things are handled. And that has given me more peace of mind than anything, is just knowing that this studio is always in good hands with our team. And we have, the most wonderful team I could have ever asked for here.
Do you have entrepreneurship in your background with family members or anything like that? I'm curious to know when the triggering moment is for someone that I think I might want to do that. Is that in your past at all?
Kind of. So my grandpa back in Middletown, New York, owned a liquor store called LoSardo's Liquors when I was a small child. And my mom was an Avon sales representative. So that was probably the extent of the business ownership. I have had the entrepreneurial bug for years before even this. Like I would write my own blogs, and I would start my own mini little yoga companies to do private yoga, and put out content, and I think that lent itself into this, just because I had experience with that. I've been a writer by nature for a long time too, so I felt very confident in putting together a business plan and the marketing that comes with this. That I think that shows that care into it.
Well, obviously, again, you're seeing a lot of success, and even before we officially met today, I've heard your names in and out of circles, and so I'm very excited to get to connect with you. Now, tell us about Belmont Yoga specifically. Someone's listening in. This is your opportunity to share, why you're different as an organization, or to invite people in to be a part of this community.
So, it's a special place in that everyone is welcome here. We try to keep our space very approachable, especially to people that have either never tried yoga, maybe even never heard of yoga, have no idea what it's about, making it accessible as a place that no matter who you are, we like to say yoga for everybody and every body, that there is no prerequisite to come to a class. You do not have to touch your toes. You do not have to have a certain level of flexibility. You don't have to have, the most advanced yoga mat or high quality yoga leggings. Like, we don't care. Roll out of bed for all we care. Like, come as you are. And it's a practice, it's a community, but it is an individual practice. So there is not competition. When you're on your mat, it's your practice. And being able to, like I said earlier, no matter what reason you come in, whether you want to gain some more mobility or find some strength in a power class, or maybe you're going through some stuff, maybe you have some mental health things going on, or work stress or family stress, or if you want to elevate, you're a seasoned yogi and you want to find more of a spiritual practice, all of that is here. So there is no, you have to be this, you have to be that. It's, no, you come as you are and you find your own journey. You find your own practice here, and we're merely guides. We never want to we never want to put out the assumption that we have it all together. I mean, me and my instructors will be the first to say, like, we are very far from perfect. We have the same struggles a lot of other people have, but we're all in it together. We're here to inspire, if we can, and help people, most of all.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. Corey, how would you sell Belmont Yoga on the other side of it? Obviously, you're very involved, of course, but being a patron or a member of the community.
Sure, I've been doing yoga for a decade now, and nothing too serious. Just here and there. Go to the different ones in Charlotte, and then but coming here, I'm not a big time yogi person, but I love the physical part of it, the mental part of it. It gives me a chance to stop my busy life and just take an hour to clear my mind and do some stretching. So afterwards, nice and relaxed.
You're an entrepreneur yourself.
Sure.
You own your own business. So how does, and you can both answer this, of course I want to hear from you as well, doing yoga actually serve your business specifically? Obviously physical activity serves your business or your life, but specifically yoga. What about that? Like you said, clearing your mind.
Sure.
How do you find that serves when you're in the workshop or when you're leading your team, actually dedicating that time to yoga?
Yeah, a lot of times in the workshop where I'm struggling with a design or a project, I'll just think about yoga. I'll sit back and just kind of breathe through it and just kind of clear my mind and kind of get a fresh take. Before, I would just keep pounding the ideas and then kind of stress myself out. But with the yoga practice, you can just stop, take a minute, then get right back into it, and yeah.
It's definitely helpful. It completely changed my life, especially over the past 5 years. Specifically, the aspect of mindfulness is being aware of what we're doing all the time, being aware of breathing, being aware of how we interact with people, being aware of how we move our bodies, and keeping that safe. And I realize I'm the minority that really, really enjoys going to work to the point where I'm not looking at the time and like, can't wait to get out of here. If anything, I'm here more than probably I need to be or should be, but I take classes
Yeah.
here too, so I get to have this aspect of coming to my own place of business and find my peace at the same time. And that to me is, I never take that for granted. And trusting, and this is very crunchy of me to say, but trusting the universe that things are always going to find a way of working out. And admittedly, the first few months were hard. We were in a pandemic. I sat behind that front desk and cried many a time. I will fully admit that, because I still didn't know like exactly what I was doing. I was still learning, and I was like, is this ever gonna be what I hope I want it to be, what my vision is? And then more and more it did. And I think especially after the fall with the moon event, that put us on the map a lot more when we hosted the art event here, when we did yoga with the moon, and people were finding out about us, and people were also at that point coming out of their houses again from COVID. And now, I mean, especially in the past 6 months has been magical. That's the only word I can say is just, it's been wonderful.
Well, I'm curious about the timing. So February 2021 is when you opened. So when did you actually start to process the plan and then jump? Because, and this is kind of, I left my job at benefits June of 2020. You know, so there's some timing there that was like, okay, this is going to be really tough, or the timing is just right. So tell me about the timing of starting Belmont Yoga.
February 2019 is when the concept of Belmont Yoga started. It started when both of us have had the entrepreneurial spirit for a while, and we thought, how cool would it be to own something, to own a business, to start a business in Belmont. And we didn't quite have all of it figured out exactly what that looked like yet, but we started to scope and just see. And we saw this, except there was grass and a train car here, but plans for a building. And that building happened to be owned eventually by Steve at Station, who we know, Steve and Talia. And we're like, well, let's just send him an email. Let's just see. So I sent him an email. I said, hey, would you ever consider a yoga studio in this building? He's like, sure, let's talk. And then we had several meetings, and then eventually they started doing the construction here. So from February 2019 until February of 2021, we had a lot of time. Now keep in mind, COVID did not start until 2020. So we had to pivot a few things very unexpectedly for everyone. And it still worked out. Everything still worked out. So we're grateful that we saw the listing when we saw it. We're grateful that Steve and Talia gave us this opportunity. And we couldn't ask for better landlords, first of all, and friends. And just a better location. I mean, we're smack dab in the middle of it, and it's wonderful.
So when did you actually leave your job?
My job was very gracious to keep me on until December of 2020, which means I only had a couple months, a month and a half maybe, but we had started construction because we had an empty shell. That was what we signed on for, and we had about 5 or 6 months of construction to get it to what we wanted it to be, and that was also over the holidays, which were a busy time. So yeah, I was able to stay on at least part-time with my old job, which I'm very grateful to them for letting me see that. So
you had the opportunity to actually transition and get going in February 2021. What did some false starts look like for you? Like you mentioned, there were some times behind the desk where you cried. So I heard a coach or a speaker say once that, you know, when you start your business, there's going to be several false starts. You know, I know false start in the sense of football, like, all right, like, but what does that look like in business? I had no idea what it looked like. Now I can give you a list of what a false start looked like. So what were some of those that you experienced in the business? Like, all right, we're gaining some momentum, we're gonna do this, we're gonna take over the world, and it's just like flatline. Did you ever experience any of those you got going?
I don't think we were flatlined. I think it was a slow growth at the beginning, but then it did take off. So it was always something like, oh, we got more people signing up, and then it grew and grew. And
I would say, I think the first summer and fitness are sometimes like, do not mix, especially for yoga studios. That's when we tend to experience our dip during the year. And that last summer was tricky. And there were a few months there that was like, oh gosh, like, are we gonna be able to pay our bills this month? And then, like I said, fall picked back up. I think also with COVID being so wishy-washy last year, that they would think we're taking away the mask mandate, and then we didn't. And then you had some other guideline, and then they took it away. And then finally, I think that was also maybe summer or fall when they finally took away the mask mandate. We were like, okay. And then we saw people coming out. So I think COVID itself gave us such a roller coaster for a while. I think that that's very normal in business, not necessarily COVID, but it takes time. And I've now told myself, anything worth doing does take time. If we had this massive growth first month, that would have been the precedent that we thought was going to happen then every month. And by starting in such a slow time, now the excitement we have when we have a good month, it's like we don't take it for granted that people are coming here and investing in their health and supporting us.
I do feel that the community is behind you and your mission, so you're doing a great job in connecting with people and really being able to buy into you. And a big part of this platform, initially the catalyst was I wanted to share people's story, because when people know someone's story, it's not just about buying a membership, or it's not just about yoga. It's like, no, I'm helping her to accomplish her dreams. I believe in her story. So the whole shop local, I think COVID really helped to highlight that, shop local. But other than it feeling like an obligation or feeling like the right thing to do, I want people to be excited to shop local because they know where that dollar's going with your story and hearing that. So getting to connect with you in that way, it's been very exciting. Tell me about now the future. What is what do you hope to accomplish through Belmont Yoga? What's next, if you have anything in mind?
We do actually have some ideas in mind. One of them being we really want to expand upon the storefront concept, not necessarily space, obviously, but we want to start hosting more events that allow the community to come together. One of them being we would love to be able to host an art event in our space one night where we have a few local artists there, maybe a silent auction, maybe we have it catered, just a way to continue to bring awareness to the local artists. We are hopefully going to do the Christmas market again to partner with Station, where all of our local artisans and makers get to come out and showcase what they do best. And I think just more partnering with different businesses and being able to showcase all of the talent that's around us right here in Belmont.
And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you get to see some of this art and experience it behind us. You mentioned that most of this in here is supporting another local entrepreneur, local business. Mm-hmm. I assume all of it?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So all of the art on our walls is made locally. And we probably have a good 8 to 10 different artists in here with different pieces. All of the items that we sell on our tables as well on the shelves, all locally made, and so for example, a little shout out to Lauren, NC Made with Love. She makes her own soaps, bath salts, lip balms. We have some of our own teachers make their own products and sell them here. Some of our students make their own products and sell them here. So we definitely favor the ones that already are part of the community. Yeah. But we have people come in all the time and just marvel at all of what is made here.
Was that intentional? Was that a part of the business plan from the beginning?
Indeed.
That you wanted to support local businesses?
Yes, definitely.
We wanted everything to be locally based. Even our seltzers, our CBD, everything is local.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why?
We're living in a time where it is very easy to jump online and order Amazon to get the same day. It's very easy to go just buy someone a big box gift card. And we're again not going to say that we don't shop on Amazon. We do. He does. But we understand, both having an art background, we understand what it's like to put your heart and soul into something and for someone else to appreciate it. And most of the people that are makers, you know, they're not making millions of dollars. It's not why we do it to begin with. They're doing it because they love it. And so to have someone come in and, you know, buy an oil roller that was crafted by one of the teachers, Amber here, then they take it home and they use it, and she knows that it's something that she poured herself into is now being used by someone and loved by someone. And that's the same with the art. You know, we try to make sure that the artist knows who bought their piece here, so that they know it's someone local, it's someone it's going to a wonderful home. And that's special for them. I mean, the excitement that some of our artists and makers have when I tell them, you sold this piece, or, you know, here's your sales this month. They're like, damn, that's awesome. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for what you're doing to support local businesses, and I do want to make sure that we get to mention Corey's business, because anything that we see in here, I believe you actually made yourself.
Yeah, all the furniture, the tables, shelves, the French doors, the lights. It's something.
A good lead-in tease for your episode. We'll just proceed to
sure.
yours. You know, I'm going to go to the other side.
Please.
But Lone Ranger
Custom Works.
Custom Works.
Yes.
Why the name?
The whole Lone Ranger concept is something I've had for about 15 years. I have another train coming here. I've been building for about 15 years. When I moved to Belmont 10, 11 years ago, my first house had a 200 square foot barn in the back, which I turned into a workshop. Did that as a hobby. And then when we found our new house, I have a loft situation. So I have probably 800 square feet, which I turned into a full-time workshop. And it just grew and grew. I quit my full-time job last year, and decided to do it.
Well, you don't have to wait for Corey's episode. You can follow him at Lone Ranger Custom Works on Instagram and connect with him there. Is this table for sale?
It can be.
Okay.
Everything can be for sale.
I really like it. We're actually looking for something new for our kitchen, something a little bit taller. So I really enjoy that. So when you get to come in here, you're not only supporting Belmont Yoga, but you're getting to be a part of supporting local makers. I like that, because I'm stuck with artists. And I know that there's more broad. So local makers here in the area. So I hope that you even get to stop in just to see some of the art. But there are some great opportunities to connect with Belmont Yoga. You have an awesome special, by the way. The new student special is 2 weeks unlimited for $35. Get to know the community, get to know Michelle, get to know Corey, and see what she's talking about when she's talking about the family or the community that's being created here. And then you have a 3, 6, and 12-month package for $350, $650, and $1,200. Anything else you want to add to your offers there?
So those are considered our premium memberships, and they have, along with them, free guest passes. You get exclusive classes once a quarter, and you also get a discount on yoga gear, merchandise for the duration of your membership time. So those are, they're wonderful. Unlimited is a wonderful option because you don't have to think about it. You just show up. You sign up and you show up. You don't have to think, when is this expiring? I mean, it will at some point, but it's just nice for people that just want to not have to think about it every time.
Yes, absolutely. So. Anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, in closing, I will have one more question, and then we'll let you close this out. When you think about your legacy, or when you think about the legacy of Belmont Yoga, or your legacy in the community, or just with the people, how do you hope to be remembered, or what do you think that legacy is?
That's a loaded question. I think most what we would want to be remembered by is that we helped people. That's what we set out to do here. Between the yoga, having a place where people can come and they're not judged, they're accepted as they are. That alone speaks volumes, but helping the community and having a showcase for art and items around town that are made, I think we just want to we want people to know that, you know, we are here to help. And that's our biggest mission. However we can help, we want to.
I love it. I do hope that even in a little way, if this serves the community, for people to get to hear your story, connect with your story. I know this is going to be great for viewership because all of your community is going to be super excited about it at the very least.
Sure.
But you know, thank you guys for your time. But beyond that, what you're doing in the community, there's a certain energy in Belmont that it's just tangible. You can feel it. Even though we had never met before, I felt aligned with your business and what you were doing to connect people and to do that. And that's a heavy toll. So every day when you're going through the finances or you're handling the sides of the business that aren't as glamorous or boring, I'm thankful that there is a much deeper rooted mission to serve the community and building Belmont. So thank you guys so much for the time. Anything to add before we close?
I don't think so. Thank you for allowing us to tell our story and highlighting our business. We're so excited to grow and just be here. So we can't wait for the future.
Glad to get to grow with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.